Hey, and welcome to Highbrow, Lowbrow. I'm your host, Shaun. With me here is Roun Sensei. Each week we get together to discuss a highly regarded, well-acclaimed film against a cheesy crowd pleaser.
Basically an artsy-fartsy film versus a mindless good time. So Shaun, in this quarantine times, I don't know how many weeks has it been, but what you been up to?
Well, like everyone else, I've been trying my hand at baking. Of course, I picked the hardest thing to bake, which is sourdough bread, because it takes days and days and days of cultivating yeast with a flour-water mixture. And it's messy and time-consuming, and I've been using so much flour. It's very frustrating.
It's all over the kitchen, and you would think he's a coke dealer now.
Yeah. Well, I am the chemist, somewhat, of course, now.
But the thing is, so we're in Van Nuys, close to Van Nuys, at the cusp of it. So if anybody knows, you get a lot of cockroaches everywhere here, and part of the modus operandi to combat cockroaches is to get a bunch of boric acid so they can bring it to their children, and the whole thing dies. But it looks like flour, so I told Shaun, hey man, we got to clean this up. We don't know what is what, so
Yeah.
we don't want to be eating boric acid in the morning.
Yeah, well, luckily I'm stronger than well, actually, cockroaches are pretty strong, but I'm a pretty healthy dude. So, boric acid, I fight you pretty hard.
It's just the corona.
It's just the corona.
Just the corona.
It helps me against the corona. Martin, so what are we talking about this week?
This week we are discussing action films, one of my favorite genres.
All right, cool. Cheers. First up is Tokyo Drifter. Tokyo Drifter is a 1966 Yakuza film directed by Seijun Suzuki. The story follows Tetsuya Watari as the reformed Yakuza hitman Phoenix. Tokyo Drifter is a 1966 Yakuza film directed by Seijun Suzuki. The story follows Tetsuya Watari as the reformed Yakuza hitman Phoenix Tetsu, who is forced to roam Japan, avoiding execution by rival gangs.
All right. So, Shaun, what made you pick this for an action film?
So, I've heard about this film. I was looking around for action films. Since you picked the genre this time, you picked action. And I wanted to pick an action film that was highbrow, but very dynamic in how it told its story and how it depicted the action. And I haven't seen it before, so I wanted to give it a shot.
A lot of this really reminded me of Golgo 13. It's got that 1970s kind of saxophone-y, jazzy kind of.
Yeah.
And, it's like they're talking about this guy, Tetsu, who's supposed to be a cold-blooded killer. And, oh, my God, forget about it. We got to eliminate Tetsu. Tetsu's the most badass motherfucker. He's the Phoenix. So we gotta take him out. We can't do anything if Tetsu's there. So I was like, okay, Golgo 13. This guy is a badass. He's gonna kill everyone, But it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is the movie starts to become something. It's so funny sometimes.
It's interesting because I was like researching the history of this film, and essentially Seijun was employed under a company called Nikatsu. And they pumped out movies constantly, pump. And so they were just putting out like movies all the time. And so it's somewhat of an assembly line film. But people back then would have called it a B movie. They called it a B movie. Of course, I don't feel like it's anywhere near a B movie. It's almost absurdist in its way that.
Well, I don't know if this was based out of a manga, much like Golgo 13. Because there are so many characters, there's so many relationships, and you're coming in the middle, and they already have their things determined. And so I was like, okay, well, the green jacket guy, for instance, at the end, he suddenly pops in and like, oh wait, is this who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. What makes it an artsy-fartsy film to me is it's very much more interested in style and shots.
Yeah.
You got a lot of style in it. You got a lot of choreography with the music. You got a lot of moments. There's a lot of moments here where in the black and white shot at the train station.
Yeah.
So you get like it's dark, it's black, and then you get the Japanese characters in white, and then he comes in, he's like all dramatic, and this, and then they beat the shit out of him. They threw him near the coast or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got a lot of shots like that, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of like one of those films. Very, very what do you call that? Like an Italian kind of. Remember when they were doing that?
Yeah.
Neo whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Neo spaghetti
yeah.
Western or whatever.
No, like even the Germans. I think it's the Germans. They did a lot of like kind of weird sets.
Yeah.
Where the
yeah.
sets doesn't even like, what the fuck is that hallway doing there? You know, things like that.
There's a lot of fun sets in this. There's that weird hallway, a weird white hallway, but then all the lighting is very specialized.
Like, yeah, is he in an alien spaceship now? Like it's like rectangular, but it's not. I was really giving it a chance because he's got principles. You know, he's the traditional Japanese lead character, very, like doesn't touch the women. He's like, go by.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I'm a drifter through and through. I'll drift through everything.
Yeah, he's got a soundtrack too. Yeah. Oh my god, when that soundtrack kicks in, that's it.
I was a big fan of the sound.
I was a big fan of it too. Hey, I was in it.
Yeah.
I was I was ready to bite the cheese. I was very excited for this movie, but there was a turn. I was getting to this. There was a part of the movie where I was like, okay, this is no. I lost all hope. So they killed one guy, deal goes bad, Tetsu comes in, the bad guys are running into the elevator, but he manages to get into the elevator, but then he just drops. Like, you gotta see it, I'll find the clip. As much of a badass he is, they don't kill him.
Yeah.
They just let him go, they beat him up. Oh yeah, Tetsu's he's a badass, but we're just gonna beat him up. We're not gonna shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Other characters, they shoot him dead.
I think, at a certain point, I feel like the director is nodding at us. I feel like I don't know, I've heard the director of this film, or I haven't heard him, but I've heard talks about what Seijun Suzuki was trying to do during this era. And I heard he was just like, yep, I'm just trying to make films. I'm just, putting them out there. They're B movies. But then, when I watch this film, I get the sense of a director sort of going like, let's fucking go buck wild. Let's try to throw in all these random elements. Let's throw in a bar fight. Let's throw in like this, thing. I want to have fun. I'm going to make this tired action film genre fun for me. I'm going to do things that seem funky and weird and bizarre, and I'm just going to live it up.
I think the movie is composed of moments. There's a lot of moments in there. I mean, this goes with Batman versus Superman. That movie is aesthetically beautiful, right? And this one is the same. It's very well shot. I love the visuals, but it's only got moments that are not earned, right? Like, so you got that. He's a badass, but not really, because they're not trying to kill him, and he doesn't really do anything badass.
I'd say this. I almost feel like he's thumbing his nose at your idea of moments being earned.
And but man, dude, this guy's got a soundtrack.
Yeah.
When he comes in, he's got a soundtrack. And then when the soundtrack comes on, that's it.
Yeah.
And even if you shoot him, like he's bleeding on the floor, when the motherfucker whistles.
Yeah.
That's it.
Game over. You are done.
Game over. If he whistles, he's got his like one hand in his pocket. He's fucking bleeding.
He's laid out, and the bad guys, they just can't even take that. They're like, oh fuck this, I'm out. This movie was made essentially to sell the song Tokyo Drifter. There was a pop song that was they were trying to pitch.
I believe that.
And they were like, let's figure out how to pitch this song. Well, let's have them make a movie about it.
Yeah, definitely. This is weird. And I guess let's move on to the next one, a little bit more straightforward action. My pick for this week is Rambo, Last Blood. This is the 5th installment, and I think the last Rambo movie. I think so, it says Last Blood. Anyway, it's released in 2019. It features Vietnam War veteran John Rambo, now living in Arizona with his granddaughter, who ends up going to Mexico, getting mixed up with some cartel guys, getting kidnapped, and now John's gonna have to go there and, do his Rambo thing.
So Ron, why was this your lowbrow choice?
Well, I've been a big fan of action movies. I love action movies. I love Commando, I love Rambo, I love RoboCop, I love these 80s franchises, Terminator. And this is the last, it says Last Blood. Hey, man, First Blood. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
Right? I thought the last Rambo movie was the last one.
Yeah.
But hey, Last Blood. And he's got short hair. And he looks like a grandpa.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I got to watch it, right? It didn't get a lot of good reviews, but hey, it's John Rambo. You gotta see what happens in the end. And looking at the last film, they kind of changed it up. It became more realistic. So I was very curious as to what they're gonna do here. Big criticism. And in fact, I thought about it too. I was like, what is he going to do? Throw colostomy bags at them at this point? What is he going to do?
Yeah, he's pretty old at this point.
The last film, he was like maybe, I don't know, late 50s, mid 50s, and he's still buff, and he's got long hair, and he can still fight in the jungle.
Yeah.
But this time, he's a true grandpa.
Yeah.
What is he going to do?
Yeah, he's pretty old at this point.
Yeah, he's really old. And I really liked it. He didn't do any hand-to-hand combat. He killed a fuckload of them in many, many brutal forms. But it was built up. It was set up. Throughout the film, he got his ass beat. Everything bad happened to him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the last part where you get retribution. So it was set up very well. Yeah, he didn't do any crazy shit. No acrobatics, no beating up people with his hands. He went back to Nam.
Yeah, if you could go in any lower of a brow, you could not go lower of a brow than this. This is the penultimate of lowbrow. I felt everything was super gimmicky, and I thought it was like everything was like on the nose, like just huge on the nose, all the things. The music, it was like cloying.
Oh, yeah, the music.
It was cloying. He'd be having conversations like with his daughter or his niece or whatever.
Supposed to be granddaughter.
Granddaughter, yeah. Gabrielle. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, she's gonna obviously face a horrible fate. And of course,
horrible fate.
Yeah, and of course they push the fate as horrible as you can get. Becomes like a crack whore. And then, everything is just like, how can we make this the most horrible it could be? I don't remember much about the last Rambo movie, but I do feel like it was good because it was like had a little bit of a meditation of his age, and then, him coming back to being Rambo after all these years. But the one of the problems I had with this film, I had a couple of problems with this film, but then is that they don't take into account like his agedness, like he of course he is limps around and doesn't do any of that stuff, but I liked in Rocky how there was like a little bit of a meditation on his age and him getting older and times changing. But this film just sort of sets him back up in the same sort of situations he's always in, and there's no commentary or idea about like Rambo's getting old as shit, and he's got to deal with it now, and what's it mean to be a veteran, when you're old as shit. There's no commentary or no thought put into that, which I guess is not the intent of this film. The intent of this film is to have an old guy beating up young guys or whatever. But everything is like so on the nose and predictable and very, very apparent.
Very Rambo.
Very Rambo.
All right. So, and for people, I guess those are valid comments, right? Like I have nothing against that. I hate it when people say, "Oh, well, he's killing like 20 guys by himself."
Yeah.
I'm like, do you even know who John Rambo is? My only thing was that the bad guys didn't seem to react with fear. If I'm in there with 20 other guys and you've seen your friends decapitated, stabbed, blown up, why are you gonna keep going? I'd be out of there. Like, guys, this is no bueno. I'm out. Yes, it's on the nose. Yes, it's very fast, but it's an action movie.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you want a big payoff. I was on board. I really wanted the cheese.
I don't necessarily mind a mindless action movie. I think it's fun. But I think for such a heralded, series as Rambo, I think it's an action movie that's like an action series that's lasted all times. I feel like it would have been way better suited to have ended on the previous installment because it did hit on all those classic notes, of like Rambo.
I agree with that. I really thought the last one was it.
Stay tuned to find out which one we ended up liking more.
Okay, Sean, you go first.
Okay, so the film I ended up liking more, I would have to go with Seijun Suzuki's Tokyo Drifter. It's weird, it's strange, it's a little incomprehensible, but I just think it has so many random elements. I can definitely visit this film again and again because I think there are a lot of interesting things to visit and to check out and to see, and a lot of symbolism to sort of understand and entertain. So I think this film has a lot of that to explore.
You're not gonna watch it again.
I could see myself watching it again, mainly for that song. Mainly for that song, to have Tetsu whistle to me, you know, as whistle, and maybe hopefully I won't kill myself because his whistling is so damn powerful.
That whistling part.
It's a very interesting film, and I probably will show it to other people that are interested in absurdist or surrealist sort of media, because it does have a very surrealist, absurdist media. It knows what it is, almost to a point where it's just like, this is what this is, you know, get used to it. It's pretty challenging, very unique, and I do enjoy a good mindless action film from time to time, and I feel like this definitely fits, Rambo definitely fits the category of that. But I feel like it was a letdown in terms of like a Rambo film. I feel like other Rambo films have done it better. In fact, I would warrant to say, I haven't seen all the Rambos, but I would warrant to say I feel like this might be the worst of the Rambo series, but I haven't seen all of them.
Tokyo Drifter is not a bad film. I wouldn't call it surrealistic or anything like that. I would call it, this is to me an actual example of Pulp Fiction. It's a Pulp Fiction that's not very cohesive. I was on board, but I've seen better. Yeah. Now, Sean has a point. Last Blood is not the best Rambo film, but I gotta stay loyal to my boy. You know, John Rambo is my boy, and I gotta pick Rambo. You know, I've followed it from the first movie to this. If they did something different to the Rambo series, making it super serious and dramatic and all that, I would have been pissed. I wanted that action bit. But then again, Sean is correct. It could have ended much more gracefully. As an action movie legend, I really believe that he deserved a lot better. You know, it's kind of like, it's like a Solid Snake send-off. You got to give that salute.
So those are our thoughts on those two films. Be sure to tune in next time when we try to find out who was right,
Sean or Ron.